Have you ever found yourself at the end of the day feeling utterly exhausted, even though you're retired? You've worked hard your whole life, and yet, these golden years can feel more tiring than you ever expected. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. In my years of practice, I've seen a quiet epidemic among people over 60. It's not a disease you can name, but in many ways, it's just as dangerous. I call it the burnout trap of good intentions. It's that relentless habit of constantly doing, fixing, and pleasing, the very things we believe keep us valuable, but are actually draining our health, straining our relationships, and quietly stealing the joy from our lives. But what if I told you that the secret to a happier, healthier life after 60 isn't to do more, but to learn how to do less? It sounds wrong, I know. But after watching hundreds of my patients transform their lives, I can tell you with certainty, the smartest thing you can do for your well-being is to become strategically lazy. I'm not just talking about a theory from a textbook. I'll never forget my patient, Carol. A wonderful woman, always the first to volunteer for her church, for her family, for everyone. She was so busy helping everyone else that her own stress levels were through the roof. The final straw? She ended up missing her grandson's championship baseball game because she was simply too exhausted and unwell. That moment, it was a wake-up call for both of us. Now, Carol's story does have a happy ending, because she learned to let go. In this video, I'm not going to give you complicated medical advice. Instead, I'm going to share 7 simple permissions to be lazy about the things that no longer serve you. Practical steps you can take today to reclaim your energy and your peace. And please, stay with me until the end. The 7th and final permission is the one most people overlook, but it's the one I've seen have the most profound impact on a person's longevity. It could truly add years to your life. Everything we'll discuss comes from decades of sitting with people just like you, listening to their stories, and seeing what truly works. Before we dive in, I truly want to know how many of you have felt this way. If that feeling of being tired from doing good things sounds familiar, please comment a simple yes below. It shows me you understand, and it helps others in our community know they are not alone. Okay, let's get started. Alright, let's talk about our first and perhaps most important permission. Permission number 1. Stop overcommitting to social obligations. This is a problem I call the yes to everything syndrome, and it's something I see in the kindest, most generous people I know. It's that deep-seated feeling of guilt that bubbles up when you think about declining an invitation, whether it's from family, your church, or a dear friend. You want to be there for everyone, to stay connected, to be helpful. But you end up stretching yourself so thin that there's nothing left for you. Now, you might just think this is a matter of feeling a bit tired. But as your doctor, I want you to understand what's actually happening inside your body. Every single time you say yes, when your heart, your mind, and your body are screaming no, your system releases a stress hormone called cortisol. It's that wired, anxious feeling you get when you're running on fumes. In the short term, it's draining. But over time, this chronic release of cortisol can contribute to very real health problems, like high blood pressure and systemic inflammation. Here's the core reason why this becomes so critical as we get older. Think of your energy as a bank account. When we were in our 30s or 40s, that account seemed to have unlimited overdraft protection. We could stay up late, work long hours, and bounce back the next day. But now, in our 60s, 70s, and beyond, that account works differently. The deposits, which come from rest and joy, are more important than ever, and the withdrawals feel bigger. Every single yes that you give out of obligation, instead of genuine desire, is a major withdrawal that your body can no longer afford. Have you ever felt that? You agree to babysit or attend a luncheon, and instead of feeling happy to help, you feel a little sting of resentment. That feeling isn't you being a bad person. It's a warning light. It's your body's way of telling you that your energy account is overdrawn. This brings me right back to my patient, Carol, the one who missed her grandson's big game. It's crucial to understand she didn't miss it because she lacked love. She missed it because her energy account was empty. She had said yes to so many other things that when the most important moment came, she had absolutely nothing left in the tank to give. So, here is the simple, powerful solution. You must start practicing what I call the graceful no. It's a way of declining that is both kind and firm. The next time you feel pressured to say yes, I want you to pause, take a breath, and say these simple words: "Thank you so much for thinking of me, but I'll have to pass this time." That's it. You don't need a long story. You don't need to invent an excuse. Your well-being is reason enough. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's essential. It's about protecting your energy so that when you do say yes, you can be fully present, with a full heart and the strength to truly enjoy the moment. Now, let's move on to the second area where permitting yourself to be a little lazy can dramatically improve your life. Permission number 2. Stop obsessing over a perfectly clean home. For so many of us, a clean home is a source of pride. It's a sign that we have things under control, that we're responsible. But there's a fine line between a comfortable, tidy home and a spotless museum that consumes all of your time and energy. The problem I see so often is the relentless need to scrub, vacuum, and polish everything to perfection every single day. From a medical standpoint, this constant activity puts a tremendous amount of physical stress on the body. Think about it: the bending, the kneeling, the lifting. Over time, this puts enormous strain on your joints and your back, which are already more vulnerable as we age. But the physical toll is only half the story. Mentally, the pursuit of a perfect home creates a to-do list that never, ever ends. The moment you finish one task, you see another. This creates a low-grade, constant state of anxiety, a feeling that your work is never truly done. And here's the core reason this habit is so much more draining now than it was 20 or 30 years ago. Your body's capacity for recovery has changed. It simply needs more time to rest and repair itself. When you spend hours every day on deep cleaning, you are spending the precious energy that your body needs for other things. Vital things. Like taking a walk to keep your heart strong, reading a book to keep your mind sharp, or simply having the energy to enjoy a long phone call with your children or grandchildren. Does this sound familiar? That nagging ache in your lower back at the end of the day? The soreness in your knees? That quiet, persistent feeling of anxiety when you spot a bit of dust on a shelf? These aren't just random signs of getting older. They are often direct symptoms of a body and mind that are being pushed too hard by the endless chase for a perfect home. I remember my patients, Bill and Linda, so clearly. A lovely couple. They spent years of their retirement dedicating their evenings to cleaning. Instead of sitting together on the couch and talking about their day, one would be dusting while the other mopped the kitchen floor. They were trading connections for cleanliness. They had a spotless house, but they were exhausted. The turning point came when Linda's arthritis in her knees became so painful that she simply couldn't do it anymore. Her body forced them to stop. So, here is the simple, freeing solution. I want you to embrace a principle I call the good enough rule. Your home doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be comfortable and safe. Try a simple 10-minute tidy each evening to put things in order. Wipe down the kitchen counters. Pick up any clutter. That's it. Then, set aside just one day a week for the heavier tasks like vacuuming. Please, give yourself this gift. A home is meant to be lived in. It's a place for comfort, for memories, and for peace, not for perfection. Alright, this next one is a little different. It isn't about the physical energy you spend, but about the emotional energy you lose every single day without even realizing it. Permission number 3. Stop worrying about what other people think. Of all the burdens we carry as we get older, this one can be the heaviest. It's that nagging voice in the back of your head that worries about the new wrinkle you saw in the mirror, about your graying hair, about whether the clothes you're wearing make you look old. It's the constant, exhausting effort of trying to live up to an unspoken expectation of how you should look or act at this age. From a scientific perspective, this constant worry about social judgment keeps your body in a low-level state of fight or flight. It's a subtle but persistent stress that drains your mental and emotional reserves, leaving you feeling anxious and depleted. It is, quite literally, exhausting to spend your days second-guessing yourself based on what you imagine other people might be thinking. And here is the beautiful, liberating truth about this stage of life. You have lived long enough. You have earned enough wisdom and experience to be freed from this. This chapter of your life is meant to be a time of authenticity and self-acceptance, not a time to revisit the insecurities you might have felt in high school. You've earned the right to simply be yourself. Think about it. Do you find yourself avoiding family photos? Do you sometimes shy away from social gatherings because you feel self-conscious? Do you ever look in the mirror and feel a sense of disappointment, a feeling of not being good enough anymore? These feelings are the direct symptoms of a life spent worrying too much about outside opinions and not enough about your own inner peace. I had a patient named Diane who embodied this struggle perfectly. For years, she wasted so much energy and joy trying to hide the signs of aging. She avoided the camera at every family event. But one day, she was looking through an old photo album with her granddaughter and had a profound realization. She pointed to a picture of herself as a young woman and remembered that even then, she was worried about something. Her hair wasn't right, and her dress was too plain. And looking back, none of it mattered. All she saw was a beautiful young woman who had wasted a precious moment on worry. That was the day Diane decided to stop. She let her beautiful silver hair grow out. She started wearing bright, comfortable clothes that made her feel happy, not what she thought others expected. And the most wonderful thing happened. She felt free. So please, hear me on this. The people who truly matter in your life, your children, your grandchildren, your truest friends, they don't love you for your youthful appearance. They love you for your wisdom, your stories, and your laughter. They love you for being you. I want you to adopt a simple mantra, something you can say to yourself in the mirror each morning. The people who matter don't mind, and the people who mind don't matter. Let that sink in. Permit yourself to let go of that heavy, invisible weight. This next piece of advice is one of the hardest to put into practice, especially for loving parents and grandparents. But it is essential for your own peace of mind. Permission number 4. Stop trying to fix everyone's problems. If you are a parent, your instinct for your entire life has been to protect, to provide, and to fix. When your child fell, you kissed their knee. When they struggled with homework, you sat with them at the table. But now, your children are adults, and the problems are bigger. Maybe it's a financial struggle, a difficult marriage, or a career setback. Your instinct, your deep, powerful parental instinct, is to jump in and try to make it all better. But I need to tell you, as your doctor, that carrying the weight of your adult children's problems is an impossibly heavy load. Medical research has shown us something fascinating and, frankly, quite startling. When you emotionally take on someone else's stress, your body reacts in almost the same way as if the stress were your own. Your heart rate increases, your blood pressure rises, and your sleep is disrupted. In essence, you are suffering the physical consequences of a battle that is not yours to fight. Here's the fundamental reason why this approach must change as we get older. Your role has shifted. You are no longer the primary caretaker. You are now the wise advisor, the loving supporter. When you constantly step in to solve every problem, two things happen. First, you completely drain your own emotional and sometimes financial resources, leaving you exhausted and anxious. And second, and this is the really difficult part to accept, you can sometimes unintentionally rob your children of the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to develop their own resilience. What are the symptoms of this? It's that feeling of dread every time the phone rings, wondering what crisis has come up now. It's lying awake at 3 in the morning, your mind racing, worrying about their rent payment or their job. It's feeling a constant, simmering anxiety for things that are completely outside of your control. That is no way to live. I think of my patient, Robert, a wonderful father. His adult son was going through a difficult financial time, and Robert did what any loving father would do. He stepped in. He gave him money to cover bills, he offered endless advice, and he even dipped into his own retirement savings to help out. But the problems just kept coming. Robert was sacrificing his own peace and his own future, and his son wasn't learning to stand on his own 2 feet. The change came when Robert realized he needed to be a different kind of support. So here is the solution I offer you today. I want you to think of yourself as a safe harbor, not a rescue ship. A harbor is a place of safety, of calm, of unconditional love, where your children can always return for emotional support. A rescue ship, on the other hand, sails out into the storm to fight their battles for them. Your job is no longer to fight the storm. It's to be the calm, steady lighthouse that guides them home. Listen, love, support them emotionally. But you must give them the dignity of finding their own way. Sometimes, the greatest act of love is to let go. Alright, let's talk about something that silently steals peace from more people than almost anything else in the modern world. This is a big one. Permission number 5. Stop obsessing over the news. Now, let me be very clear. Staying informed is a good thing. It's part of being a responsible citizen. But there is a world of difference between being informed and being constantly inundated. The problem I'm talking about is the habit of keeping the cable news on all day long in the background, or endlessly scrolling through headlines on your phone or tablet. It's a constant drip, drip, drip of negativity, fear, and outrage. From a neurological perspective, our brains are hardwired with something called a negativity bias. It's an ancient survival mechanism. It means that our brains naturally pay far more attention to bad news than to good news. In caveman days, this kept us safe from predators. But today, when we are exposed to a 24-hour news cycle filled with crises from all over the globe, it keeps our brains in a constant state of high alert. This floods our system with stress hormones, leaving us feeling anxious and on edge, even when we are perfectly safe in our own homes. Here is the essential reason this habit becomes so toxic as we get older. Sleep. A good night's sleep is not a luxury at our age. It is the foundation of good health. It's when our bodies repair themselves, and our brains consolidate memories. The single worst thing you can do for your sleep is to expose your mind to stressful, negative information right before you turn out the light. It's like trying to go to sleep right after watching a scary movie. Your mind just won't shut off. So, what are the symptoms of this news obsession? It's that feeling of helplessness about the state of the world. It's a growing sense of pessimism or even anger. And most of all, it's tossing and turning at night, your mind racing with worries about things you have absolutely no control over. I saw this exact pattern with my patient, Susan. She was a very sharp, informed woman who started her day with the morning paper. But over the years, that habit morphed. Soon, she had the news on the television all day long. She told me she felt exhausted and perpetually anxious, and she couldn't figure out why. Her sleep was a mess. The solution we came up with was incredibly simple, but it changed everything for her. And it's the advice I give to you today. I want you to go on what I call a news diet. This doesn't mean ignoring the world. It means consciously choosing how and when you consume information. Pick one specific time of day, maybe 15 minutes in the morning, to get your updates from a trusted source. And then, turn it off. The most important rule of all is to create a non-negotiable buffer zone. No news for at least 1 hour before bed. Let your mind be a peaceful garden, not a battlefield of breaking news. You have the power to control what you let into your mind, and your peace depends on it. We've already talked about the danger of overcommitting your time. This next point is related, but it goes a little deeper. It's about protecting not just your schedule, but your very sense of self. Permission number 6. Stop pushing yourself to please everyone. Many of us, especially those from a generation that was taught to be polite and accommodating, have spent a lifetime putting the needs of others before our own. We became experts at anticipating what our spouse, our children, our boss, or our friends wanted, and we molded ourselves to fit those needs. It's a habit born from kindness and generosity. But when it goes on for too long, a dangerous thing can happen. You can forget who you are. From a psychological standpoint, chronic people-pleasing can lead to a loss of personal identity. When your entire life is built around reacting to the needs and desires of others, you can lose touch with your own inner voice. You stop asking yourself what you want, what you need, and what brings you joy. This doesn't just make you tired. It can lead to a profound and unsettling feeling of emptiness, as if you're just playing a role in someone else's life. And here's the core reason why it is absolutely vital to address this now, at this stage of your life. For decades, your primary role may have been a parent, a spouse, or an employee. You spent your life in service to others. And that was a beautiful, necessary thing. But now is your time. This chapter is about rediscovering and nurturing yourself. This is not selfish. I want to repeat that. This is not selfish. It is a necessary act of self-preservation and self-respect. What are the symptoms of being a chronic people pleaser? It's that feeling of being taken for granted. It's a strange sense of confusion when you have a free afternoon, because you genuinely don't know what you want to do with it. It's looking at your own hobbies, the gardening tools, the half-finished painting, the stack of books, and realizing you haven't had the energy to touch them in months because you've been so busy running errands for everyone else. I think of my patient, Margaret. She was the go-to person for everything and everyone. She never said no. One day, she came into my office, and she just looked deflated. She told me, "I feel like my whole life is just a long to-do list that other people wrote for me." She had a powerful realization. Every time she said an automatic yes to someone else, she was saying a silent no to herself. No to her peace. No to her rest. No to her own happiness. So, here is the simple tool that helped Margaret, and I know it can help you. It's called the pause rule. It's very simple. The next time someone asks you for a favor, big or small, I want you to resist the urge to say yes immediately. Instead, smile and say these magic words, "Let me think about that and get back to you." This simple sentence is a game changer. It creates space. It gives you a moment to check in with yourself and ask, do I truly want to do this? Or am I just doing it out of guilt or habit? It puts you back in the driver's seat of your own life. We've arrived at our final point, and as I mentioned at the beginning, this is the one that I believe can have the most profound impact on your overall happiness and even your longevity. Permission number 7. Stop overplanning every detail of your life. For many successful people, planning is second nature. You've spent a lifetime organizing schedules, managing projects, and mapping out vacations down to the last detail. This need for structure and control provides a sense of comfort and security. But here's the paradox. The more tightly you try to control every moment, the more you rob yourself of the very joy you're trying to plan for. Scientifically, our brains crave a degree of predictability, it's true. But when we become too rigid in our thinking, we lose our mental flexibility. When a meticulously crafted plan inevitably goes awry, a flight is delayed, a friend drops by unexpectedly, it starts to rain, our brain perceives this as a threat. It triggers an acute stress response, flooding us with frustration and anxiety. Research in gerontology actually links this kind of mental flexibility, the ability to go with the flow, directly to better cognitive health and resilience as we age. The core reason this becomes so important now is that life, especially in our later years, is inherently uncertain. Our health can change, and family needs can shift in an instant. The more we try to impose rigid control on a life that is naturally fluid, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment. The real magic of life, the moments that become our most cherished memories, so often happen in the unplanned spaces in between. What are the symptoms of being an overplanner? It's that feeling of intense frustration or even anger when things don't go exactly as you envisioned. It's being so focused on the schedule, what's next, where you need to be, that you completely fail to enjoy the moment you are actually in. It's the inability to just sit and be, without feeling like you should be doing something productive. I'll never forget my patient, Richard. He was a master planner. He took his family on a trip to visit his grandchildren and arrived with a printed, laminated itinerary for every day. But of course, life happened. The grandkids wanted to spend an extra hour at the park, throwing off the entire afternoon schedule. Instead of enjoying their laughter, Richard was visibly stressed, checking his watch, worried about being late for the next scheduled activity. He returned home exhausted and confessed that he felt like he'd missed the whole trip. So, on his next visit, he tried a new approach. It's the solution I offer you. It's about planning the big rocks but leaving space for the sand. The big rocks are the important, non-negotiable things: a doctor's appointment, a special dinner reservation. But the rest of the day, leave it open. Let it breathe. That's the sand, the small, spontaneous joys that fill in the gaps. On that next trip, Richard planned just one main activity each day. And because of that, he ended up having a spontaneous picnic in the park with his family. It wasn't on any schedule. And he told me later, with a tear in his eye, that it was the best day he'd had in years. Please, don't schedule the joy out of your life. Leave room for the magic. Remember my patient, Carol, from the beginning? The woman who was so stretched thin, so exhausted from trying to be everything to everyone, that she missed her own grandson's baseball game? Today, Carol is thriving. She's a different person, not because she does more, but because she does less, with more intention. She still volunteers at her church, but she chose one committee instead of 3. She still hosts family dinners, but now she happily accepts when her daughter offers to bring the main course. She learned that by saying a gentle no sometimes, her yes became so much more meaningful. She's not just physically present at family events anymore, she is truly there, full of energy and a quiet joy that everyone around her can feel. The message I hope you take away today is simple, but it is life-changing. Your peace of mind is not a luxury. It is a necessity for your health. True happiness and contentment in these years comes not from adding more to your plate, but from having the wisdom and the courage to take things off. So, my question to you is this, and I truly hope you'll answer in the comments below. It's the most important part of our time together. Tell me the one small change you promised to make for yourself this week to honor your own peace. Will you practice saying no to one small request? Will you let the dusting go for a day and read a book instead? Your commitment, shared publicly, is a powerful first step, and it inspires us all. And if this message resonated with you, if it felt like a permission slip you needed, please click the like button. And consider subscribing to join our wonderful community of friends here, where we learn to navigate these years together. Finally, think of one person, one friend or family member who is always doing too much, who needs to hear this message today, and please share it with them. You never know whose life you might change. Take good care of yourself. I'll see you in the next video.